Hello, my name is Jack Hanson. This is my presentation of William Shakespeare, and this is for Founders Education. It is June 2nd, 2024. So in this presentation, I will go over William Shakespeare's accomplishments. Some brief background is that Shakespeare is arguably one of the most famous authors of all time. He has invented thousands of words that in the English language, and he's a true innovator, Renaissance man, and trailblazer. He's written dozens of poems and playwrights. So a little bit of his origin. He was born on April 23rd, 1564 in Stratford, England. And most of what we know about Shakespeare is what we learn in his later life when he began writing. And in his early life, he attended local high schools around his area, and he studied social studies and literature. But ironically, instead of going to college to pursue his education, he worked as a servant in the Houghton family in Lancaster. He married Anne Hathaway and began working at Lord Chamberlain's acting group. So that's a little bit of his early life. And some brief historical context, there was a lot of events going on in this time. Mainly, there was an imbalance between the church and politics in Europe during this time, which created a lot of chaos. So the 30 Years' War, Enlightenment thoughts that, challenged the church, the Renaissance man like Da Vinci and, becoming or maxing out and becoming your full potential as a human, that idea, and skepticism of the Roman Catholic Church. So in one of his pieces in 1597, Romeo and Juliet, and it still impacts society today. We still see references of Romeo and Juliet, like for example, like Romeo to Juliet, time and time, I'm gonna make you mine. So this was a song by Rat, which was a rock band in the 80s. Also Tchaikovsky's Romeo and Juliet, which is classical, another musical example. And also a reference in the West Side Story, similar, with the boy and the girl, and also attention to romance instead of focusing on, the church and religion. This focused on romance. Another example, in 1599, Shakespeare wrote Julius Caesar. So Julius Caesar was a true story about the Rome and the empire, and according to windowpost.com, when the play begins, Cassius works to convince Brutus to join his group of senators planning to assassinate Caesar. Cassius also, as many politicians do, appeals to Brutus' vanity, referring to his famous ancestor who has driven out the last Tarquin king of Rome. So, common themes of power, desire, and politics. So, similar today, where we see politics, doing crooked things, trying to win. This is kind of where Julius Caesar, hundreds of years ago, kind of talked about. So between 1606 and 1607, the play Macbeth was written. So different themes that Shakespeare incorporated was paranoia, guilt, revenge, and justice. So at the time, King James I was in charge, and there was a lot of drama going on, and also with paranoia, where Macbeth kills someone and he feels guilt and the revenge, and he just wants more and more, and he ultimately gets in trouble. So yeah. And a few years later, in 1611, he writes The Tempest, and this was also another very famous play. And according to TeachWire, our post-COVID world could potentially give our students a greater understanding of isolation and how it might feel for Prospero and Miranda, trapped as they are on this island, and TeachWire.com editors. And also the views of magic, punishment, and love are also seen. So kind of like in COVID, where we couldn't go things because of restrictions, The Tempest kind of portrays that. And in conclusion, these were only a few examples of William Shakespeare's accomplishments. He's also invented, again, hundreds of English words we still use today, and a Shakespearean sonnet, which is a type of poem. And his legacy will continue to grow as more and more children around the world study literature. Thank you. This is my works cited. This is Founders Education, June 2nd, 2024. Thank you.